Hello, you guys. I am so sorry I'm bopping on here late, and it's not because I was messing around with stupid stuff on Instagram. I was actually live with Natalie, and I was having technology problems. So I see you guys starting to roll in here, so that's good. Will somebody, I see Natalie is in the house. Yay. Miss Paula. Yay. Okay. Oh, and looky here, you guys. Natalie wants to join. So I have two requests to join. I don't know about this. If somebody will make sure and give me a thumbs up so that we can hear, because I had to go grab earphones. So let me look at these. I'm trying to, Natalie, if you can hear me, I'm trying to only choose you. Okay. Sorry, guys. I don't know how to decline the rest of these because I only want to go live with Natalie. I guess we're learning. Hold on. Okay, Miss Paula, you can hear me. Yay! Okay, Nat, I'm trying to find you. I had all these other requests to join. Okay, maybe I gotcha. While we wait to see if she is going to join us here.
Yay.
Oh, she is. Hey, sorry. There was like 5 people trying to go live with us. It was going to be a tongue-tie party here. So I have not gotten a chance to say anything else, you guys. So for those of you who, of my audience who are joining, thank you so much for joining. You know who I am, Carmen Woodland. I'm the tongue trainer. I'm a myofunctional therapist. I am Natalie's myofunctional therapist. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit.
Yeah, dark.
What was that?
Do I look dark, or is it okay?
I think that unless you can get different lighting, I think that's...
I can try.
Okay. You do that while I check. So there's a lot of frequent flyers here. I know some therapists come join here because they want to see me in action, which is great. I love the opportunity to teach. So a little bit about myself. This is what I do. I have a global online myofunctional therapy practice, so I get to bring this therapy to all parts of the world. And how Natalie and I know each other, well, a snowball just kind of gets bigger and bigger and bigger as it goes downhill. So because we both are wellness warriors, she found me through somebody else who was a client of mine. Many of you guys got to see me do live therapy with Margaret, with Paula. So now it's Natalie's time. So if you, for my audience, for my community, will you introduce yourself? We both work in wellness, so tell us who you are, where you're at, what you do, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's great. So I'm Natalie. I'm an integrative health practitioner. I also do mind, body, spirit release, as many of you know, and I'm focused on root cause healing. And I'm in New York, but it's a virtual practice. And what was your last question? Or was that it? Something fun fact about me? I'm just kidding.
Because we'll talk more about where people can find you when we're all done. Okay, so I have somewhat of an outline, you guys. The biggest thing is let's just jump into, you had your release yesterday, and I kind of got some updates from yesterday today. So first tell us about your experience, because that's what everybody's excited to hear. And then we're going to talk about what made you realize you have a tongue tie, what your symptoms were, what you're already noticing. Then we'll do your therapy session.
Perfect. The experience was great. I was expecting it to be a lot worse than it was. It was really early. It was like 7:30 in the morning, and I was coming back from the Hamptons the day before, and I actually started to feel kind of sick on that Sunday. I got a bunch of mosquito bites, and I was like totally having some sort of flare and like felt like I had a fever. And I was like literally praying at night. I was like, please make this fever break before the morning. Like I can't go into this like already like having symptoms, you know,
Yeah.
because I thought it was going to be this big deal. And I get in there, he's like, yep, you have a tie. Like, we can take care of it right now if you want. I'm like, sure. It took 5 minutes. He literally got this scalpel thing, and I had my tongue up, and he was just like pulling down on like the tension around my tongue, and then just lasered the middle. And that was it. It was so easy. And after, like, I mean, of course it's not, so they use like the local anesthesia to numb it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you don't feel much. You just smell like a little bit of smoke.
Like
And
burning skin.
yeah. And then after, yeah, it was just like, it was fine. I'm just taking Advil and I'm feeling pretty good.
Who was he?
Sorry.
Who was he? Who's the doctor?
Yeah. So I went to, his name is Dr. Scott Siegel in New York. He's amazing.
That is awesome. He's a pretty big name in the industry, so that's why I was like, tell us who it is.
Oh yeah. He was great.
Now, what did he say about you doing myofunctional therapy? Did he check for readiness? Kind of what was that conversation?
Yeah, he wanted to make sure I could suction and hold, and he was like, you're good to go. So that is something, it's really important to do therapy before. I think the suction and hold is like the most important, probably. I had to hold it for probably like, honestly, just like a minute. He did a lot of it without me suctioning, but it was definitely imperative that I could do that for sure.
So up and down, up and down, up and down. That's what my clients say. So when I have you do it, 5 60-second holds, that's huge. That's a big benchmark because most doctors, they want a minute. And the reason that I have you do so much is because you're going to be nervous and they're going to get you numb and they're going to tip you back in a chair and everything's going to happen.
Right.
And so that's why I have you go a little bit farther so that you can meet that benchmark. But I had a client recently say, Carmen, I lost track at 16. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and not, obviously not a minute for each one, but it was like, okay, suction, down, suction, down, suction, and people will get home and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have been ran over by a John Deere. I'm just exhausted.
Yeah, mine wasn't like that. I was probably up and down 5 times.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you notice as it was happening? As you know, and my audience knows, I never want to lead the witness. I never want to say, hey, did you feel this? Did you feel this? Did you feel this? I want to hear it from your mouth so I don't sound like a used Subaru salesman. So tell me what you experienced.
Well, the first thing I noticed, because I was so fixated on making sure I didn't feel anything of what he was doing, but I noticed that he was doing a lot of the tension pulling on the left side. And it felt like hardly any on the right. And that's the side where my neck and shoulder and trap is always tight. So I was like, that makes so much sense. It was causing that. And then honestly, like right after I noticed how much looser it was. I can't say that while he did the release that all of a sudden I felt this huge release. But I realized right after, like, wow, it's way looser.
Okay. So the left side was laser. Sorry, I decided I should probably do your notes too. So the left side was released more than the right, or you noticed that there was more restriction over there than the right.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk symptoms, or actually let's back up just a little bit. So how did you know you had a tongue tie?
Margaret, Muscles in Motherhood, of course, posted her videos, and it was funny. Paula and I like texted each other at the same time, like, did you see that? Like, we just knew that we had them at that point. It was mainly how she was talking about her back and shoulder pain. And like, for instance, I always feel like there's like a tension cord going down my back and a little bit to the side. So I used to get massages like every week. And when I'm working out, like I'm constantly in pain and feeling that. And I sort of just haven't been working out mainly for this reason. But that was a huge one. The fact that I couldn't touch the roof of my mouth with my tongue, really, it was like a strain to get it up there, let alone put it flat up there. And it never rests up there. And then, I guess I didn't know this until we talked about how I do the pursed lip swallow thing.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew I swallowed weird. Like, that goes without saying. But, yeah, I didn't know that was a trait.
Well, and you don't want that going forever, because I told you probably when I did your exam is that I have had clients that look like they have pack-a-day habits
Yeah.
and have never smoked in their life, and it's just that compensation of using all of those muscles to come forward, and they look like they smoke, and we don't want that. We don't want ventriloquist mouth where you have the deep, they're called walrus creases. I mean, who wants that? But that swallow is a biggie.
Oh, the
Now,
other one really quick before I forget is my posture, which obviously that's not fixed. You know, I'm going to have to work on
yeah.
that. But I'm always just uncomfortable sitting straight up. Like I always want to like slouch. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that has to do with how that tension was pulling on that one side.
Well, and I've said this time and time again, and probably to you like 47 times, that a tongue tie rolls you forward. It is a connective tissue issue. You guys, connective tissue is a postural thing. And Dr. Zoggy has said it best when he said having a tongue tie is like wearing a size small when you need a size large. And so a lot of my clients are like, oh my gosh, after they get the release, they just feel like it's creepy that they can move their shoulders back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a biggie. But you hit on something big, Natalie, when you said, I'm not fixed. No, you're doing this.
Yeah.
And
Unraveling.
you're starting to unravel, and I'm a piece of the puzzle. So I basically say, okay, your goal with your posture is, to get your shoulders over ears, to get to deal with that forward head posture, which it is not easy. I mean, I've done therapy for forward head posture, and not only is it not easy, it's not fast, and it doesn't just happen overnight. But again, a piece of the puzzle. Now that I can say this legitimately, because I've been on live with both Margaret, then you, and Paula, I still remember the day when both of you and Paula were like, hey, we have to wait for our exam. Can we have it sooner? I'm like, okay, I'm going on vacation, but okay. And then I think I did yours first, and then I did Paula, and she was like, so how'd you like Natalie? Like, I work around the world, and she was in one state and you're in another state, and like, you guys. And then I'm trying to be like confidential. I'm like, don't know what you're talking about. Okay, let's see what else. So so that was the biggest thing that made you realize that you had a tongue tie.
Yeah.
So then you contacted me. We did your exam. I always say that when I do your exam and I help you understand how everything is connected, and I feel like my job is then when you don't have any questions and you're like, yeah, I can see this. I did not think you had the worst tongue tie in the world. However, you had so much impairment to go along with it. Remember, we don't diagnose ties by appearance. We don't look at this. This is the biggest concern. I mean, plenty of my clients have this concern. This is the biggest concern. So it will be interesting. What was that?
I was just thinking about that video I posted of me trying to swallow the water, which was wrong. Like, that's not the right way to do it. But yeah, I definitely don't swallow right. There's none of the backward motion of my tongue going up.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting as we start working through. So now this session is going to be for healing. And then we have a couple more strength sessions, and then we start working on that swallow. But honest to cow, when I saw that you had those cheek retractors in today, I thought, what is she doing? And you're like, I don't swallow right. And I thought, sweetheart, I'm not going to teach you to swallow with those. And
I don't
anyhow,
know what I was thinking when I read the instructions, and that's what I interpreted.
Oh my gosh. Well, not after your release. Okay. So let's talk about a couple questions that came in, and then we're going to do your session. So I saw Anne join here. So now is a great time, you guys. So I will not, if you guys have questions, I will look back through this video and personally answer your questions. Or if they're more appropriately answered by Miss Natalie, I will have her answer them, and I will either get her in contact with you, or at the end, she's going to tell you how to find her on Instagram, and then you could just ask her. But either way, that was a shameless plug for you.
Yeah.
Either way, we're going to make sure all of your guys' questions get answered. We had some questions submitted beforehand, so I do want to make sure and get to those because I'm not going to go back here through your guys' comments and look for questions because I would surely mess something up. So a few questions that came in. The first one, Natalie, says, did you have body work in addition to Myo?
No.
Okay. And so then it said, if so, what type and how far in advance of the procedure? So let me just touch on this because this is something that I write in my reports. Body work. A lot of people like to do craniosacral therapy. A lot of people like to do a lot of people with the tongue tie are already doing chiro. They're already doing massage because they've been miserable. Some people are doing physical therapy. Bless their hearts. Some physical therapists are really starting to get in tune with this stuff, so they're really helpful. But so that's always a recommendation. It's my recommendation to people is that it can be helpful to add it in as you can. I always feel like myofunctional therapy and the release are the foundation. And then I always tell people, do what you can do. But don't break the bank on going to the chiropractor all the time until after your release. So Natalie, let me ask you this. What do you have lined up after this? You mentioned massage therapy. Do you have something that you're going to do now that you've got your release done?
Yeah, I probably should go back to the chiropractor. I used to go all the time because I felt like I really needed it. And like I was saying, how I don't work out anymore right now. I haven't really felt like I needed it. So it wasn't top of mind, but I'm glad you mentioned that. I probably should just get back in alignment, then try working out.
Yes. And because let's face it, you were just like, maybe not like a stepped on cockroach, but now that you have started that release process or that unwinding process, just having somebody help you get one thing stacked on front of the or on top of the other,
right,
that's going to be helpful. And my recommendation always is don't go to, I don't know if you still have your chiropractor that you used to go to, but don't go to a crack and collect guy. The place where you go and give them $45 and they sit on you or whatever, because where I'm at, there's plenty of those. So look for somebody who is a little more functional medicine focused. They're going to be really helpful. Okay, so that answers that question. I will answer this next question because it says, did you have closure by primary or secondary intention? So the answer is Natalie had stitches. So Dr. Scott does stitches. And so that is primary intention. So when there's a wound and they bring the edges back together and they sew it up in a straight line, that's primary intention. When a tongue tie is done by a laser with no stitches, then it's secondary intention because we want that triangle to heal slowly from the edges in. We want granulation tissue to fill in the middle, and it sounds barbaric, I know, but it's important that you kind of keep it broken open and stretched, and it's like waking up. What was that?
He said that they do want it to be like open in the middle, even though they stitch it.
Okay, and so we'll talk about, so now's a good time to talk about that. So wound care instructions. So I provide that video to you. And this is always a great time to kind of review that with my clients because there's a point at which your stitches, you're going to be like, is there more stitches or more wound? And everybody always gets a little bit overwhelmed when all of a sudden it's like, okay, a stitch comes out. I literally had somebody go to the airport once and do therapy, and she was lifting, and she went, ah, and just, it was like she blew the seam of her pants.
Oh, see, that's what I'm scared of happening. Like, they were probing it after, and I was like, stop. Like,
no, you're fine. You're fine because you're prepared. So when that starts to, and that's why I make sure that I do this session within 48 hours because I want you to feel totally prepared going into the next couple of weeks. So while you're healing. So at that point, when those stitches start to come out, I want you to say, okay, self, how much is stitched and how much, because that open wound, you can't just leave it alone. So unless you're going to finesse breaking open a little piece of it, I just tell my clients, just start getting with the program. Don't be as gentle. Don't be as worried about those stitches, because once they start to come out, Dr. B always taught me for every day that those stitches are in there, that's helping. But Dr. B put stitches in because people don't follow directions, or that's part of it. That's not the only thing. But so at some point, you're going to be going, okay, I feel comfortable with just kind of busting a move here. And if it pulls out the rest of my stitches, that's fine. But what's left open, or what starts to open first, you want to kind of massage that scar tissue, like getting the guns out, like I demonstrate in the video. You're going to be doing suction and hold again. So that's going to help. Some doctors always want you to do that forklift. But when I teach suction and hold, it's the same thing. But I never want you to go back to him and say, well, Carmen said to do hers and not yours. So I always say, if it's similar to what he told you and what I'm telling you, don't do double duty. Okay. Does that make sense? Does that make it a little less overwhelming? Like these stitches are going to come out. You could wake up tomorrow and yawn and pop them out.
Yeah. That's what they said.
Yeah, move on to plan B. And that, again, is why I meet with my clients, so that you're ready. Because I wake up to emails with people around the world like, hey, can you look under here? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So that answers about primary or secondary intention. So she had stitches, so she's healing by primary intention. Secondary intention is when we want it to heal slowly from the outside in. My colleague, I think it's Autumn Henning, said, close the windows, not the curtains. So we want to do just enough to accomplish what we need to. Natalie, when you start working that wound, you don't have to get Western with it to the point that you make it really mad, inflamed, all of that stuff. The minimum to accomplish what you need. And these exercises are going to give you that movement, so that's going to be helpful, which again is why we do this.
Start sectioning and holding again, like now.
Are you asking me or telling me?
Yeah, asking. Am I gonna have to?
Yeah.
Okay. I tried this morning and I was like, oh, not yet.
Yeah. So what was his instructions?
Just the forklift and then to listen to you. He said, do the like we tell people to do the forklift if they don't have myofunctional therapists. So that's kind of just like their like generic thing, but they were just like, listen to whatever Carmen says.
Yeah, they make me be the bad guy. So here's the thing, sister. If you do 100 lunges and then sit in the recliner, what's going to happen?
Nothing.
You're going to hurt like.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be nothing.
I don't know.
So that's the thing. We want functional movement. And that's the biggest thing. And you got this from the wound video, is that there's a difference. And when people put stitches in, it causes a difference in the post-procedure therapy. So, but you want functional movement. Okay. So when we go over your exercises, we'll talk about that. I just want to finish these last few questions. So, the next question was the closure method selected by choice? Did you get a choice? Nope, that was just his method. So you guys who are wondering, or I see all the chatter in the Facebook groups, you want it done this way, you want it done this way, you want it done this way. I just want my clients to have somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. I don't care the method. I want the brains behind the tool, and that's the biggest thing. There really isn't a better way. A lot of people look at, well, Dr. Zaghi does it one way, but Dr. Zaghi does, it's a functional, it's a little bit different, but not everybody does it that way. So I always tell my clients, if you have the option, don't choose stitches, but you have to be following directions. But some doctors don't give you that. And I am 100% always respectful of that. This is their procedure. I just want somebody who knows what they're doing and that you get a complete release. So I don't know that it's really optional that much anymore. How long were you advised to implement aftercare stretches if left with open wound healing? Never mind, there's no open wound healing. We talked about the symptoms.
Maybe should
Hold
we
on.
just do a really quick explanation of like what tongue ties are, like, and why they're important, like how the fascia is going down the body. It's just for the people who have
Yes.
no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. And so that's a great question because you jumped right to the body, and a tongue tie is a congenital issue. So if you guys are born with a tongue tie, obviously you're born with it because it's there halfway through your mom's pregnancy with you. So before it even becomes a postural issue, and in my world, I feel like my biggest concern is it's a craniofacial development issue. Your face cannot develop correctly. Your breathing tubes cannot develop correctly. Um, you look at my face structure.
Other.
If you look at my face structure, I was a mouth breather. I didn't have a tongue tie, but I had a low postured tongue. So when your tongue is low, it's not up, spreading the maxilla. The maxilla drives the shape of the face. It's supposed to come forward, and it's like a lid on a box. So when the maxilla grows forward, the mandible follows, brings with it the tongue, brings with it the tonsillar tissues, and the airway. So that's the biggest thing. But then over time, it's a digestive issue, it's a structural issue, it's a postural issue. The thing is, Natalie, and you can probably attest to this, you just never knew that. Like you
Right.
just
Oh, yeah.
grew up with that posture or that slouching or that forward head posture.
Right.
And I always feel like when I meet clients and I start pointing things out, like when I meet them for the free visit, when I meet them for the exam, I feel like all I say through that whole thing is, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and you're doing this wrong, and you can't swallow right. And I always feel like, man, I hope this isn't a self-esteem builder for these people because I suck at it, right?
Yeah.
But and then so for you, posture wise, like tell us about your posture because you noticed it in your neck. You said more the
Yeah.
left side. Unpack that for us.
I guess I'm just always super tight through here. I'm always pulling on my neck, like doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm slouching the whole thing. I'm always like my lower back on this side too is always in pain. Like I always have so many knots over there, and I'm always slouching and always cracking my neck. But I think that's just because I'm trying to get it back in place.
You're trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Tell me, I don't know if I have it in front of me. Hold on, let me look. Um, So I have poor sleep, tension, digestive issues, lips are parted, but you are nasal breathing.
Right.
So that postural, so that slouch and
Yeah.
that compression of the diaphragm. So you're nasal breathing, but you're not breathing correctly.
Right.
When I have somebody who has digestive issues and they have a tongue tie, the tongue wasn't in the right spot. Um, but when you're slouched over, you're compressing your diaphragm. So that also affects your digestion.
Yeah. Yeah. I really would love to see if it improves my digestion.
Yeah. And I think I've told you this. I still remember when this client told me the day she had a release that lifelong constipation went away and her feet, the bottom of her feet quit hurting. And I was like, what? And of course now after I digested it for a minute, I was like, oh, the connective tissue. I mean, connective tissue is
Yeah.
all through our body. You know
Wait, that's
this.
another one. I always get plantar fasciitis when I run. It just
Hmm.
like keeps coming back. I mean, I kind of have it figured out now, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if I start running again, and that would have happened. Now maybe it won't.
Yeah, and it's just a piece of it again because like I have trouble with my left foot, but then it's a calf issue, and then it's like we're all a big kinetic chain too. And so
Yeah.
that's the thing with myofunctional therapy. So many people end up in front of me. They're desperate. I'm the bottom of the rabbit hole, and I'm saying, okay, so you've got tongue posture issues, you've got mouth breathing issues, you've got swallowing issues, and then tongue posture and mouth posture. All of those other things it'll be a bonus if those fix, but the things we're working on are super important. And you didn't need to work on all four because you're already nasal breathing, but you're not effective or efficient breathing. So
Right.
it'll be interesting. Before I jump into your session, you and I talked earlier about the hyoid bone that I wanted to touch on. So this, if you guys go Google head and neck anatomy, I'm not going to regurgitate it to you here today, but all of this is tied together. If you look at the muscles and then you look at the connective tissue, the fascia, all of that stuff, it's like somebody has taken aluminum foil and we got to just kind of loosen you up and unwind you. But you have a bone here in your throat that doesn't attach to any other bony structures. It's called the hyoid bone, but there's 9 muscles that pull it all sorts of different ways. So the muscles up here, the floor of the mouth connects to it. It connects to your clavicles. It connects back here. So Natalie, you mentioned like, I feel stuff pulling my back. So the tongue isn't attaching back here, in your traps, but this posture and the compensations that causes the problems. The SCMs really are the biggest thing for a lot of people with that forward head posture, because these are your postural muscles. And I will say this just because I know that Paul is here in the audience. You and I were talking about, when people are really sore under here, that hypoglossus muscle attaches inside the chin bone, so right on the spine, and into the floor of the mouth. So it just helps you go look at that head and neck anatomy and you can start going, oh, I understand. All tied together. Okay, you ready to do
one
your
more
session?
question, actually.
One more, okay.
What do you think about a lot of like varicose veins and spider veins in your legs and stuff? Do you think that could be like a repercussion of the tongue tie? Like causing tension?
I don't think that I could even formulate an intelligent thought on that.
Okay. Someone DM'd me about that, and I was like, that's a good question.
Interesting.
Yeah.
God, I don't know who. I'm going to have to think on that.
I'll report back. I have plenty.
I was just going to say, yeah. And that's one thing I really am careful at. I want my knowledge to be an inch wide and a mile deep.
Yeah.
Not know a little bit about everything. The same thing about the MTHFR gene. Everybody always emails me about that. I'm like, not my area of expertise. Obviously, I have knowledge in it, but that I don't. So yeah, if you find out, but I'll lose sleep over that tonight. Let's put it that way. Okay, so let's jump into your session here. Okay.
Okay.
So session 3. So some of these things you have already done, and I bring some old forward so that you don't have all new overwhelming stuff. These exercises I assign, just like I always do, 2 minutes twice a day, 3 minutes twice a day. You're not going to do that right now while you're sore, okay? Suction and hold. You're not going to want to go do that for 3 minutes twice a day for 30-second holds, although that's a lot better than doing the 5 60-second holds. So here's what I suggest. Set a timer. Do something every 30 minutes, every hour or while you're awake. Wound care video. I never want you to go more than 4 to 6 hours at night without doing something once those stitches start to come out. So you get a couple lazy days here, but once those stitches start to come out and you feel like you're kind of in that in-between stage, start treating it like a wound and not like stitches. And then I want you to do something around the clock.
Okay.
Makes sense? To just bust it open. I know that sounds absolutely barbaric. It would help if I get to the right session. So session 3, you've been working on fast clicks and TikToks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And remember, I don't make you demonstrate these here. I just want to make sure that you understand them for this session. Okay.
Yeah.
You've been working on that, the same thing. 2 minutes, twice a day, 2 parts. Just make sure that you're getting a good okay. Mm-hmm. For the click part. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Tongue workout X and box. This is probably one of my favorites because it just is that stretch. So when you do it, you're going to be like, I know why she teaches this. So if you had chocolate, I
There
accidentally hit snooze on the dog alarm.
you
But
are.
if that's the worst thing that happens today, it's like, oh well. So X and box, it's like if you had chocolate stuck on your back molars. Okay, so we're reaching. So X is going to be top, bottom, and then box is going to be top, bottom, bottom. That's going to be one. Okay, so when I do it here, I can get this out of the way here for a sec. We're not tapping, we're scrubbing.
Okay. I
So
was
that
gonna
was X, and
say,
this will be box.
got it.
Okay, do you want to try it or are you good?
Mm. I'm like, trying not to put my mouth too far yet.
So, and that's the thing is you want to watch your chin and you also want to be open so that you're really stretching. So I can tell that you're tender because you're,
Yeah, it's still tender. I was
yeah.
like, I had food stuck in there earlier and I was trying to get it out. And then finally I was like, all right, I'm using my finger because like, it was pulling a little too much.
Yeah.
But
And
maybe
that's,
tomorrow.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is you got to do you. I give you plenty to work on. And I mean, when I say do something every 30 minutes to an hour, I mean, if it is just moving it around, getting
Something.
it lifted
Yeah.
out of the floor of the mouth. Okay, so that was X and box. Now remember, I'll send this email to you as soon as we go off, the air.
Perfect.
Tongue trace. Tongue trace is when you probably are not going to be busting out right away, okay? But it will be your best friend once you get to the point where you're like, okay, these stitches got to go or they're gone, okay?
Yeah.
So tongue trace is going to be tongue on the spot. And then for a count of 5, you're just really slowly going back and forth. So when I do it, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Notice when I do these exercises, there's nothing going on here. Like
Yeah.
I run out of palette. That's the only reason I stop. But everybody loves that one because it's like the itch you couldn't scratch. And when you start to really get a little more energetic with with your movements, that one is just gonna be like, oh, yeah, do it. It's like that feels so good, hurts so good, whatever
Yeah.
they say. Make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Suction and hold open wide. So you've done tongue on spot, open wide, suction and hold. So now we're going to just marry those together with a good suction. You can see the deviation in my chin. So if
Yeah.
I don't open so far, I almost lost my earphone. That's all you're doing. But making sure that you're suctioned
Yeah.
all the way up. Does it hurt if you try and suction right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried it.
So yeah.
I mean,
So just
yeah.
do your
Oh, yeah.
best.
I just tried it. It was bad.
See, now
It
this
was
is
like a
what
shock in my body.
now you know why I used to make clients demonstrate and tears would run down their face.
Oh.
Um, okay, so that suction and hold open wide. I assign that 30 times a day. So that just tells you once you start doing it, I just want you moving it. That's my secret sauce. The fact that I have you do suction and hold so much is my secret sauce. The fact that I have you do it in different positions, and then that I have you just keep things moving all the time. Plus, I have the best clients on earth and they follow directions. So that makes my life easier too. Lip trace. You've been working on lip trace.
Okay.
Okay. So you're just going to keep doing that. Now you can get further into that vestibule.
Yeah.
And when you find the spot you don't love, wiper. You're laughing at me.
I was just thinking about what all my friends and my mom's thinking right now because none of them really know what they're like. What did you do? And yeah, it's eye-opening, I'm sure.
Now they're learning, and they're all in the bathroom going,
Yeah, yeah.
guarantee you. Or they're doing tongue trace to see if their tongue can go back as far as mine. Last one elastic hold for 45 minutes. So you've been working on that. That's just habit correction. Okay, so that is it. I will send these over to you. Let's get numbers. When I saw you last time, tongue was on the spot 65% of the day. What do you think it is today?
Probably about the same.
Okay. What about middle of the tongue in contact with the roof of the mouth was 20% last time?
Maybe 30.
Okay, so that one's come up. Mouth closed.
That's so bad. Honestly, my teeth are so bucked forward again, so I need to wear my retainer. I need to just fix everything. That was the other thing we didn't say. So with the head forward posture, because the tongue's pulling down and forward, right? It like bucks your teeth out.
No, you bucked your teeth out. So that's great because that's what I did. Remember, I just kept firing the orthodontist and getting new ones.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are sent to me because they have a tongue thrust. You wouldn't believe the number of people that are sent, and they're generally sent by their orthodontist that are like, so they're sent to me for a tongue thrust. A tongue thrust is a symptom of a bigger problem. So that's oral resting posture. So where your tongue is at rest is more concerning than what happens during the swallow. So tongue thrust is just that tongue coming forward and back, forward and down, out. Anything that's atypical, that's not correct. So like when for me, I was a mouth breather and my tongue was resting forward. So when your tongue is resting in the wrong spot, pushing on your teeth, you're doing your own ortho. So orthodontists move your teeth by slow, steady pressure.
Yeah.
Your tongue resting on your teeth is
It's,
doing what? Slow, steady pressure. So your tongue is about 3 times as strong as your lips. Your tongue is nature's expander. So going back to that craniofacial development, the tongue is supposed to be up. That helps the maxilla. But your cheeks and your lips are supposed to be nature's braces, but they're only about 1/3 as strong. So they're never going to keep your buck teeth in your lips. And that was me, is mine just kept.
yeah.
The other thing is mouth breathing and lips parted. So you, my dear, aren't a mouth breather, but what are you doing with your lips?
They're chilling open
Mm-hmm.
like this.
So when your lips are apart, they lose their strength.
Yeah.
So hold those babies closed. A great example, and this is totally weird, but so I'm a melanoma survivor, and a lot of people, so I've had the end of this finger amputated with cancer in the end of it.
Oh, wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, so I'm missing that extra, that end joint for lifting. And because when I do, you can see my stump here. I can't, like if I'm lifting a couch, I have to compensate over here and use these other fingers because this breaks the strength. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so you're doing the same thing with barking dogs. You're doing the same thing with your lips. So for you, you're not nasal breathing, but if you've got
Yeah.
that part of the problem too.
Yeah. I didn't
So
get my lip done. He didn't think it needed it. Now I'm like, oh, should I have those still?
everybody's a little bit different. Some people just get everything done.
Yeah.
Some people don't. He's an expert, so I never want to feel like I'm going to step on their toes. I always defer to them. I'm not
Yeah.
like my granddaughter. She had to get everything done because she had them everywhere.
Oh,
But
wow.
she also had a diastema like Madonna, really wide, and so she
Hmm.
needed to get that closed up. Okay, so when I saw you last time, so what did we put here? So tongue on spot 65, middle of the tongue 30, nasal breathing was 95 last time, and then mouth closed was 60. I'm sorry, did you tell me those numbers?
Nasal breathing is probably about the same. I nasal breathe unless I can't breathe. through
Okay.
my, and then what was the last one?
Mouth closed, lips sealed.
Yeah, that's just not good. The same.
Okay. Oh, and when I saw you last time, my dear, you had a cold.
Yeah.
So that's going to change some of that. So let's tweak something here. So let me grab my kit. So you're already doing one elastic hold.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to teach you two elastic hold, the true two elastic hold for a couple more sessions, but I'm going to bump you to what I call a modified two elastic hold, because you won't keep your lips closed. So we've got a couple options because we got to start working on that first.
Yeah.
The strength and the behavior modification to get the lips closed. So we're going to pick the low hanging fruit and just go for something easy. So I'm going to teach, you can do it with an elastic. Some people get like a popsicle stick, a craft stick. Some people, like I did a course recently, and you can do like a piece of aluminum foil, just a little piece, anything to get right here.
Oh, it's, yeah. Okay.
But so modified to elastic hold will have your one elastic on your tongue.
Mm, that looks dangerous. Just kidding.
Why is it dangerous?
Like I'm gonna swallow one of those.
Well, then you're doing something wrong and they're
Yeah.
latex free. So you'll be fine. Um, so modified, that's what I want you to do. But I also, when you have something in between the lips, so basically anytime, so I just assigned it, what did I say? 45 minutes. So for
Yeah.
that 45 minutes, definitely a second elastic there or something else between. But I don't want you holding on to it for dear life. Mm-mm. Natural rest posture. You also have to tune into the awareness. So that's the other thing. Tongue on the spot stayed the same. Middle of the tongue went up a little bit. These are just arbitrary numbers, so we're not, cutting off limbs,
Yeah.
but awareness is the biggest thing. So I can teach you things till the cows come home, but if you don't tune in up here, so whatever that means for you, in your kit are, let me see, are dots. These are helpful awareness building things. I will tell you about those dots though. They are stickers. So put them on a sticky note, please, because when I go to my granddaughter's house, they're stuck on the wall everywhere.
Okay.
And what it's just meant to do is bring your awareness so that when you see the microwave handle and that blue dot or green, whatever it is, you go, oh, yeah, my lips together. Work on one thing at a time because I want your tongue up, I want your mouth closed, I want your nasal breathing,
Yeah.
but baby steps. We're all humans here. So if you put out a few dots, put them obviously where you're going to see them, but when you see them, you need a cue. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
For me, it was like they used to play this new Blake Shelton song at the top of every hour when I had the radio on. So whenever I hear Blake Shelton on the radio, bam, what is my mouth doing? What's my mouth doing? Here on the news at night, they have somebody who looks like he's from the Addams Family. When I see him, I know I love him, and every time I see him, I'm like, what am I doing? So those are my cues. So find your currency, find what works for you, because that's going to be the biggest thing. You can't get this fixed till you
Yeah.
get this fixed.
I'm
Does that make
determined
sense?
to get my mouth closed. Like this is like
Hmm.
annoying. Like I don't know how I got to this point that it's so hard.
Well, so you have on the verge of an incompetent lip, and so it's like if you walked on tippy toes for a long time, what's going to happen to your calf?
It might look kind of nice.
No, it's going to get
Really
shorter.
tight.
It's going to get shorter and tighter, and you're going to have trouble stepping correctly. So,
Yeah.
and I get it. I get some of the lip posture. Some of that we have been groomed to that. My youngest daughter is 25, and sometimes I'm like, sister, put your lips together, you know? So some of it is posing. And that's not what I'm talking about. But over time, when this muscle isn't being used, it's just rolling up. It's becoming what's called an averted lip.
Huh. Yeah.
So we'll see how you do. If not, I have tools in the tool chest and we'll start working on the lip. But it literally is as simple as starting to
Work it out.
mhm,
Okay. I'm gonna
do
get
it.
that number up.
Yeah, Cindy Lou Who lips, you know, anything. You can put grapes up here. You can put cotton rolls out of your kit, you know, anything. But it might be an awareness thing and not necessarily a muscle thing. So
Yeah.
just paying attention to that. But that's the biggest thing. Once you get a release, your numbers should start to change. Tongue, first we focus on tongue on the spot, then the middle of the tongue. The back of the tongue's going to follow the middle of the tongue.
Great.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, last. Then we will go and I will tell you this. Well, I'll send your email, but you'll make your next appointment with me 2 to 3 weeks. That's your healing. And then after that, the rehabilitation starts. So it'll be, you know, every 2 to 3 weeks. Then when we get into swallowing, it'll be every 1 to 2 weeks. It just kind of gives you an idea there. So don't forget to do that. For anybody else here, on social, there's tons of information to go to my website to get links to download a getting started guide. I have an ultimate guide to tongue ties, an ultimate guide to sleep disordered breathing, myofunctional therapy. Like all the tools out there that you need are on my website or
Yeah.
are linked to them in my Instagram. The first step, you guys, is exactly Natalie, we did a free assessment, or did you guys jump into the comprehensive
We
exam?
jump right in.
That's right, because I
I'm
wasn't
like,
remember.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay,
Because
so
I like book and then wait and then rebook. I mean, I don't know how booked you are now, but if you like have a lot of the symptoms I have, you probably have a tongue tie. I'm not, you know?
mhm.
And then I feel like just go for the full appointment.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing is do you have a code you want to share with people?
Uh,
Natalie 99.
oh yes, thank you. I was like in my head, what was that?
You're like, oh my God, is this a test? Yeah, so a lot of people, and that's what happened. And that's why there's like a month waiting
I'll pick it.
period to get an exam. Um,
Yeah.
you guys use that code because it saves you $76. But if you recognize, thanks, Natalie, if you recognize these symptoms and you're here, there's a reason that you're here. Just move to the exam because we do the exam. You will send me pictures. You will send me videos. I do functional assessment. You get a report. If your doctor has told you you're fine, don't believe them until you have somebody actually do a complete functional assessment, whether it's with me or anybody else. So that's the best way to start. Or you can start with a free exam or a free assessment just to visit with me, get your questions done, that kind of stuff. That is all in all of the links in the bio on my website. You can't not find my information. Okay, so Natalie, last I want to end with you. What do you do? I mentioned that you're wellness warrior. You mentioned about it. Do you want to tell my audience who might still be struggling with, because let's face it, a lot of my people, they don't feel good. They don't feel
Yeah.
like they don't feel like $1,000,000. They don't feel like they're living their best life just yet. Their tongue tie isn't the only thing that they had going on. So how can you help serve my people?
Yeah. So I believe in the full mind, body, spirit approach. You know, there's like the chemical toxicity, there's vibrational toxicity, which comes from like emotional imbalances. I believe in that full package. So I do the mind, body, spirit release sessions where I energy test to figure out what emotions, blocks, and traumas you have in your body, and then actually clear them on the call. And then I also do full root cause healing assessments. So I really focus on energy testing because I think it's the cheapest way for the client. to work with someone, but it's also like the most comprehensive in the sense that we can build protocols bio individually for you and figure out exactly what's wrong. Whereas like labs don't really, you can't really figure out if you have Lyme or co-infections or parasites through labs. So that's how I'm like really steering my practice. And we also do blood work too, if that's of interest to you. So yeah, I can do the full like physical side of things or emotional or the mix. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely come my way and I can help you with that.
Look at Paula. Yeah. Where is your way? Because I say this to all of you guys. I get lost there. Like I get in the rabbit hole and I'm like, oh, what is this about King Coffee? Oh, what is this about this? And and I am just like,
Yeah.
so where can people find you?
I'm Natalie Tout Wellness on Instagram. I don't have a website yet because I'm not prioritizing that, but I will eventually. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I have links to work with me in my link tree. You can DM me any questions. Yeah, I hope to see you there.
Easy, easy peasy. So
Yeah.
you guys, again, that code was Natalie99. So when you go to schedule that, just input that. I did see a question here that just popped up, so I will answer that. Is an exam part of a treatment package? It is not. Not part of that at all. So I think we're done, my friend. So I'm going to let you go. Yeah, we were about a solid hour, just a little bit behind with my technologic problem. Um, I'll see you in a couple weeks, my friend.
Great. Thanks so much. This was so fun.
I'm glad we finally got it done. And I will
Thanks.
see everybody else
Yeah.
in the
You
future
all.
on another session. Oh, and there's Mama.
Yeah, there she is. She'll probably be signing up next.
That happens a lot. And I have some people that are like, hey, I learned about you from Margaret and I sent my dad over, so I just love it. So you guys
Oh,
are wonderful. I have the best audience. Natalie, you have the best audience. I will see you in a couple weeks and we'll do your next session.
great.
All
Thanks.
right. Bye. Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye.